welcome to Cult Macabre, a phantasmagoric guide to pop culture's dark side. I'm Lee.
And I'm Richie.
And today we are talking about the 1993 American comedy horror Leprechaun.
Yes, and it didn't originally start out as a comedy horror. It was supposed to be played as a straight horror, but Warwick Davis, the actor portraying the Leprechaun, was injecting humor into his performance to the effect that the director and everybody working on the film was like, hey, we should probably lean more into the comedy route. And then the studio was just like, hey, inject a little more gore and horror into it, you know, and that was kind of like a win-win for everybody involved. And hey, let's sprinkle some Jennifer Aniston pre-Friends into the mix. And we have what is known as a cult classic from 1993, which I cannot believe that I'm sitting here. This movie is like over 30 years old.
This movie is almost as old as I am, and I only just saw it for the first time.
Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting conversation because this movie is one of my very favorite horror movies. You know, it falls in that category of Chucky and Freddy Krueger where you have an antagonist who is so goddamn humorous that you can't help but like them, even though they are the villains of the movie.
Absolutely. So
jumping into it, when did you actually first hear about this movie, and had you ever had any interest in watching this prior to today?
So I remember very vividly, for those of you around our age, what the inside of a Blockbuster looks like. And I have very distinct memories of seeing the VHS cover of this movie on the shelf. It had always piqued my interest, and I know my younger sisters had watched it at some point well before I did. I just never myself had that opportunity. And then it was just put off for way too many years. It was never accurately described to me as well. Like I went into it with such different expectations than what was delivered, and I fucking loved it.
I was going to say that actually makes me feel a lot better because you got to understand, I watched this when it was new.
Mm-hmm.
I was 7, you know, so this movie came out literally 4 days after my birthday, and it came out theatrically, but we didn't get it in our video store, I think, until maybe April or May of 1993. And I remember seeing the cover thinking to myself, okay, this looks kind of scary. Like if you look at the original poster where his name is Lubden, like later on in the franchise, you find out that's his name, but his name was actually scripted as Basil, like Basil, Basil. And the director has confirmed this, by the way, the original writer-director, Mark Jones. Aside from that, but just the poster of him looking through the door, to a 7-year-old, it's kind of scary, but like looking at it now as a 39-year-old, I'm like, this little fucker. He's just a little fucker. He's a little menace fucking leprechaun. When I first saw this, whenever I was a kid, at first I was like, oh, this is kind of scary. But you know, the older I got, I was like, this is fucking hilarious. And the humor still holds up, actually. Like years later, it still is funny to me.
Oh, I found myself laughing and giggling quite a bit throughout the movie, whether it was intentional in the script or the acting or not. I had a good time. That's really all that matters to me.
Yeah, and I think that's the best part about this movie is that there's humor that is very much supposed to be funny, and then there's humor where you're like, oh, okay. So if you want to get into the plot of the movie begins in 1983, where Dan O'Grady goes to his farmhouse in North Dakota, and you find out that he's come home from a trip to Ireland, where he's from, and he's stolen a pot of gold from the leprechaun, and his wife is just looking at him like, what the fuck are you on? Because he's drunk, and he
just shows up in a fucking limo. White suit.
Dude, if I were his wife, I would have been like, okay, what coin collection store did you just fucking drunkenly rob? You reek of Jack Daniels, and you're spilling fucking dusty, musty, crusty ass coins everywhere. Are you sure these are not these chocolate covered gold coins? But he's sitting there the whole time. It's like, no, he's like, it's a leprechaun. I stole his money.
I finally did it.
Yeah. Then, not just that, but as soon as this opens up, that little bastard has followed him all the way home.
Literally in his suitcase.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay.
Wait, did he follow him, or did he trap the leprechaun in the suitcase?
See, that's the thing, is that it states that he got followed home by this bastard, but he's drunk. He's like, I caught the little bastard. I stole his money.
He sounds like assumed he trapped this fucker.
Dude, he sounds like Irish Mr. Krabs, where he's just like, I stole his money. I stole all 100 of his doubloons.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, so O'Grady winds up getting chased down in his house. Actually, his wife gets killed
His
first.
wife gets fucking murked.
Dude, but the way it happens is like she falls down a flight of stairs getting scared from him. And I love because the leprechaun has all the one-liners and stuff. And he's just, oh. He's just kind of like, oh, okay. She dies, like falling down the fucking stairs. And O'Grady like looks down into the basement and the leprechaun's got his wife. And he's just like, oh. I just tripped and fell, like being
mimicking her voice. That's right.
Yeah, because the leprechaun has the powers to like mimic, which he does have magical powers associated with, his gaining of the coins or his loss of the coins. He's kind of like Sonic. When he loses his fucking rings, man, if he doesn't have rings, he ain't powerful.
Intersonic coin noises here. If I'm recalling correctly, his power equates to his possession of his gold, right? That he traded his soul for?
Yeah, he traded his soul for his gold, and that's why he's always after the gold, is because if he's got the gold, he's got the power. It's kind of like Scarface. He's like, first you get the money, then you get the power. And so...
See my brain. When you got the power!
So he... winds up, long story short, he fucks with these two until he gets trapped in a crate. O'Grady's like, I'm going to trap you in this crate.
He threatens him menacingly with a 4-leaf clover.
Yeah, but it's fucking hysterical because he puts the clover on top of the crate and hammers it shut. But this dude is sweating. Like, you know the term sweating bullets? This bastard is sweating buckshots, okay? Like,
I remember
it's bad.
looking at that scene being like, his knuckles is wet. He was so sweaty.
The way you say his knuckles is wet. He needs some milk. No, he actually probably needs some Pedialyte, man. That dude is losing electrolytes by the second.
I'm sure the leprechaun is too, after how many fucking rounds he put into him first before backing him into that fucking crate.
But when he shoots, he's like, ah, ah.
The noises.
Yeah. He fucking gets in the crate and he's hammering the nails into it, and you can just hear, "What's wrong, Danny boy? You're breathing hard. You're gonna have a stroke."
And he does. He strunks out hard.
Yeah, but the leprechaun is why he has the stroke. So he traps him in the crate and he's pouring gasoline all over it, and he's like, "Oh no, not gasoline! I'll never get out." And he's mocking him the whole fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to the top of the stairs and he's got a match he's ready to throw. And you can see him like fucking like struggling to light this match because he's in the middle of having a stroke that the leprechaun is causing. And he's like, "Burn in hell, you little bastard." Like the way he's just like losing his shit.
And then the match just goes.
Yeah, well, yeah, the leprechaun goes, whoosh, it blows out. "What's wrong, Daddy boy? Did the match go out?" What an asshole. Pieces. So we time jump 10 years later with J.D. Redding and his daughter, Tori, who is played by Jennifer Aniston, who is, we're assuming to be between the age of 17 and 19. They never really come out and explicitly say how old she is, just that she's a teenager.
And how old was she when she played that role?
I think she was 24.
And this was her debut movie, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, she had done other stuff, but I think this was like her first major movie.
Mm-hmm.
And now keep in mind, this is a year before Friends debuted, and that was like 1994 to 2004.
Which, watching this and then knowing that is so fucking bizarre. Like, it's hard. Like, there's such a bridge there, like such a gap in her acting skills between then.
Well, dude, she famously, for a while, kind of wrote this movie off, and it's mostly due to just her being embarrassed of like a lot of her early performances and stuff like that, to the point that Warwick Davis actually kind of called her out on this, and she had since kind of apologized for being like, well, look, and she gave that reason. She's like, I was really embarrassed of my early performances, which most actors typically don't look at their early career stuff in that sense. However, like people like Johnny Depp still give a lot of credit to people like Wes Craven for giving him a start, even if it was horror. But like Jennifer Aniston had to get her start somewhere.
And it blew my mind when you told me that, because I can't imagine. Like, I was watching this and I liked it so much. I was like, why would she be embarrassed of this? This is great.
Right. But I think it's because at the time, I'm on Friends. I don't want anybody to know that I did this little fucking like indie Leprechaun movie thing. But anyway, they're renting this farmhouse the same farmhouse, right? And there are contract workers, Nathan and his 10-year-old brother Alex and their friend Ozzy Jones, who are repainting this farmhouse.
Which they are very bad painters, by the way.
Dude, look, that house at one point had like red, blue. I think it had green at one fucking point, or that might have been them just mixing the colors. I don't know. Like
there was paint in so many different places, and they painted so painfully slowly that it was excruciating to see in the different scenes.
I was gonna ask, like, I've never really actually thought about this. This has to have gone on for like that day, right? Because we only see like the daylight initially and then the nighttime. There's no like time lapse of where it's like a day later or like the next day.
I'm trying to think.
This presumably takes place in a very long fucking day. I was about to
say, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm really, I can't refute that.
Right. So they do paint it painfully fucking slow. Honestly, because but the way that they're doing is they're bringing like little like small ass like buckets instead of like the big 10-gallon buckets of paint.
Rollers.
Well, I mean they have like one like with the longy boy, but they waste more paint than they put on the fucking house.
Oh yeah.
Like at one point they're doing the paint and then Ozzy gets a whole blue canister spilled on him, and we forgot to mention that Jennifer Aniston's character, Tori, was just like, man, fuck this. She's like from California.
She's a valley girl.
Yeah, they're from California, and she's like...
She wants her watercress salad.
Yeah, she wants that and her Evian water. This fucking North Dakota. Around here, we drink that tap water straight from the sink.
Roasted minerals and all.
That's right.
You can taste it.
That's our electrolytes. She decides, oh, this guy is kind of cute, Nathan. She's like, oh, this guy's kind of cute. It doesn't say that, but she looks at her dad. No, put the fucking bags back, you bastard. Put the fucking bag back. Put the bag back in the house.
Her dad's role in this movie is surprisingly small. Now that I'm thinking about it, he actually got very little screen time, all things considered.
Yeah, he kind of exists just to be the catalyst that gets them to the house, and then he gets fucking injured, and then he's in the hospital for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the leprechaun is still in the crate in the basement, which Ozzy has gone inside the house to clean the paint off of him. And of course we get the whole, I saw a leprechaun in the vase. Like it fucks with him basically. He gets out of the crate and fucks with Ozzy really bad. And he's just like, oh, you notice me gold buckles on me shoe? My hat? I'm a leprechaun. And then fucking Ozzy's like, yeah, okay. And he fucking leaves. And
I feel like there's an important part about Ozzy's character that we're leaving out.
I'm not leaving that out. I'm definitely not leaving that out because it is more than heavily implied that they don't say the R word, but they
heavily imply it.
Yeah, like he's just mentally disabled, and to an extent, I don't see that. I think he may be on the spectrum, if anything.
He's very observant.
That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Like they wrote him to be portrayed a certain way, and he's actually not. I think he's more autistic than anything. Actually, if you really look at. He's got special interests. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of shit that he knows about.
He talks about, magic and fantasy creatures quite a bit. And I think even some other side characters make a comment about how they've talked to him multiple times about, Bigfoot and aliens and stuff like that. So, yeah, he's definitely quirky. Would you say that the way he's written is, a product of, 90s tropes?
100%.
Yeah.
Because there's a line where he's telling the rest of the people on the property about this, and they're just like, yeah, sure, whatever, okay, buddy, a leprechaun. And then immediately, without missing a beat, a giant fucking rainbow in the sky. And he's just like, oh shit, pot of gold. So he fucking goes and chases it down. Mm-hmm. And Alex chases it down. He's like, oh yeah, as usual, I'll figure this out and I'll get him back to work. And they find this rusted out truck where this bag of gold just appears, and Ozzy's just like, I told you it's a pot of gold and blah blah blah, that leprechaun was there. And Alex is like, well, how do we even know if it's a real gold? And Ozzy's like, well, I saw this in a movie once. You just bite it, and he fucking shit just fucking ate a coin. You know what? I'm gonna tell you right now, he probably thought it was those fucking chocolate covered gold coins that you could get at the fucking parade and shit. That's exactly
like a box of chocolate.
Dude, he fucking ate that shit. But that's what made me laugh. It's like how do you go from biting the edge to eating it? I don't understand how that accidentally happened. I really don't. I'm trying to be nice about it. I just have no idea.
Do you ever pick up something shiny and you're like, me kind of want eat, and you just get that urge to just shove it in your
No.
mouth? You don't have that? That's never happened to you?
No.
You've never looked at like a particularly juicy rock and you're like, like a nice, pretty ruby. This is a thing. I'm telling you, this is a thing.
I'm not denying that it's a thing. I'm just saying that I have personally never experienced this.
Maybe it's just the autism. Sometimes I look at pretty rocks and I'm like, oh, I have the urge to eat this.
I have the urge to break my fucking teeth on this.
See, it's not even about that. It's literally, I can't describe it. Sometimes I look at a rock and I'm like, that's a juicy rock.
Well, Ozzy just looked at this juicy ass coin and just fucking swallowed that motherfucker whole. But what we were getting at is that there's a line where Alex tells Ozzy that they can hide this gold so that they can use it to pay somebody to fix his brain.
To make him smart. Yeah. At this point in the movie, I literally like slow turned towards Richie and I was like, what?
Did they just call him? Without saying it, I said, yeah, they kind of did. And so that's kind of like a subplot where nobody believes him because everybody thinks that he's, yeah.
And they keep the gold thing hidden for like a while. They never mention to anybody that they found a bag of gold.
Yeah, they keep that part of it hidden probably for another 50 minutes, like as far as runtime goes.
Yeah, a good chunk of the movie, actually.
Back at the farm, the leprechaun starts acting like a cat, like imitating one.
It's like messing with everybody at this point.
Yeah, so Tori's dad, JD, gets bitten on the hand, which that's a pretty gruesome bite they showed.
It looked pretty nasty, and given the state of the leprechaun's teeth, there are several infections coursing through that man's bloodstream.
How many?
69.
Nice. Yeah. So JD fucks off for pretty much the rest of the movie at this point. And this is where they're like, oh, we took him to the hospital, and then Alex and Ozzy are like, hey, we can take these coins, or at least one of the coins. Like, we can take one of these coins to the coin collector in town and have him assess and see, like, how much these are worth and if these are real. Meanwhile, Nathan and Tori go to this restaurant that's literally right next door. And that's where we start learning more about her character, where she's like, pretty much, I think she's like vegetarian, where she gives this whole speech about, she's like, that's meatloaf. I'm not fucking eating that. I don't kill shit. I don't fucking eat animals. And I'm like, okay, well, they kind of made that her entire personality.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot. What is her name? Tori? There's not really a whole lot to Tori outside of a few obvious personality traits and likes and dislikes. She has nothing in common with Nathan. Nathan, yes, thank you. And I pointed that out very early on in the movie.
I remember you saying that shit. You were just like, how is this a thing? Like, because they don't necessarily like put any romantic interest between the two of them, like explicitly, but you know, it's implied that, oh, she thinks he's cute because like, dad, put the fucking bags back.
Yeah, she changed her mind and she gives him these like long stares. And there's at some point where the leprechaun like caresses her leg under the fucking car.
Oh, that's
and
right.
She's like, oh, Nathan, stop. And it turns out it wasn't Nathan. And he's like, oh, you'd let me caress your leg?
And she's like, so? That's not the point. But in the restaurant, the personalities could not be any further apart, though, because she's like, I want a salad with my Evian water. And then they cut back to Ozzy and Alex, talking to this coin dude who confirms that, yeah, I think this is a real gold coin that could be worth a lot of money. Let me keep it overnight and blah, blah, blah.
He'll lock it in a safe.
Right. So we cut back to the restaurant and Nathan is sitting there just fucking mouthful of fucking meatloaf. And he's like, you know what? No offense, but you look skinny. And he's like putting like the meatloaf on another plate. And he's like, fucking eat this. And she's just like, fuck off.
I remember thinking, how fucking rude.
Right? Like, no offense, but you need some more yams in your fucking back pocket. You should probably eat this. It's like, dude,
that sounds like something the people in that town would say.
There's nothing wrong with her. She's fine, dude. Fuck off. God damn. Fuck your beauty standards, dude. But anyway, they roll back in there. Ozzy and Alex roll back in there. And they keep like kind of alluding to shutting the fuck up about these gold coins and stuff.
Conspicuous.
Yes, but the leprechaun rolls up on a tricycle, which we forgot to mention.
I forgot about the tricycle.
That little bastard went into the barn and rode his ass all the way to fucking town on a tricycle, chasing after the truck when they all went to town.
Let me also just say that you can tell that Warwick Davis had such a good time playing this role. Like, he really sells the character. And it's even those little really goofy ass in between scenes where you could tell this dude just had a fucking blast. Like, he literally seems like he's having such a good time.
Yeah, and he did all of his own stunts in this too.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. And what Warwick Davis was most known for before this movie came out was Willow. So to know that,
I forgot about Willow.
Yeah, so to know that Warwick Davis goes from playing Willow to fucking Lubden the Leprechaun.
For the record, if you don't know who Warwick Davis is, he was in the Harry Potter movies. You mentioned Willow.
He's been in a couple of the Star Wars movies as well.
Yes, the older ones, oldest ones.
And a couple of the newer ones.
Really? He was in the newer ones? I need to catch up with the new Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
I'm actually really behind. Anyway.
Every scene he's in, he's chewing the fuck up out of the scenery. Like, big time. But he attacks the coin collector with a pogo stick.
Oh, that was brutal.
Fucking pogo on his chest. It crushes his lung.
Literally every bounce into the air is a slow-mo bounce onto his fucking rib cage, and you just see him like splurting up blood from his mouth.
And a lot of those are pickup shots too. Like, just the stick stab or hitting him in the chest. It's like a lot of pickup shots.
So I think I remember you telling me that a lot of the like gorier parts of this movie were shot after the initial movie was shot.
Yeah, they shot a few of them like in the movie, but then they were like, no, we need to add a couple things here, add a couple things there, because the studio wanted it to be like a straight horror movie, you know, like I was mentioning earlier, but they kind of leaned into the comedy aspect of it. At one point, Warwick Davis even talked about how if he'd have known this movie was going to be rated R, he would have leaned into like a little more like horror
More
and
menacing, yeah.
well, and that in a little more dark territory with
Sure.
the jokes, because they at the time when they were filming this were under the mindset that we're going to kind of go for a harder PG-13. If you took a lot of the gore aspect away from it, it could have easily passed as a pretty decent PG-13 horror movie.
Sure.
But I know for a fact that like a lot of the extra blood and gore and a couple of the kills were what put it over as an R-rated movie. And the funny thing is, if you took away all the gore, there's really only one line in the movie that it wouldn't have even made it rated R, because you get the one fuck word per PG-13 movie.
This movie actually said the fuck word at least twice.
Right.
I did remember both of them. It was the cop and then that great line with the kid at the very end.
Yeah, and we'll get to that one.
Yeah.
So he kills the fucking coin collector. Then he shines his shoes before he leaves, which I think is a fucking hysterical thing, is that not only did we get like full-blown Warwick Davis Leprechaun, we got the tropes associated with that of a leprechaun.
Yeah, seeing him pick up Tori's blue heels and have to spit shine him. That was pretty funny.
And I mean, he's got a whole shining kit and everything. Like, he breaks out like a whole rag and a duster and the polish and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that he wants to get back to the house is he's got to steal a go-kart from the coin, because the coin collector also has some shit in the store, like a pawn shop kind of. So he steals this fucking, like, basically a Power Wheels vehicle, like a go-kart, and it looks like a truck. He gets pulled over by this cop. And he walks up and he's just a little young to be out. And he's like, well, I'm 600 years old.
It'd be a great prank by some kids, though. And I'm sure that's what the cop was thinking.
Well, yeah, but he pisses him off, and this is like another one of those scenes where he gets the grunt. You know what I mean? Like this fucking, like, the leprechaun did, getting mad and shit.
Feral noises.
Yeah, he's just looking at, basically the cop calls him like ugly, and he just... And that was a scene where they shot more because they felt like they needed more action. So the leprechaun pie faces this cop. There's blood coming down from his face, and they were actually going to cut that shot right there and just be done with it. But they were like, oh, we need more action. So they shot that whole sequence where the leprechaun chases this cop into the woods and proceeds to just fuck with him for a while. It's very Looney Tunes-esque. It's kind of that gag of where the character just disappears behind like a very thin stick and like peeks around it and then hides back behind it. He's just appearing behind all these trees, mocking this cop, and eventually he plops down and on his shoulders and breaks his neck.
Yeah, he literally just like...
Yeah, he gives him like probably the best chiropractic adjustment of his life. I don't know how he does this, right? So he has time to fucking leave this coin collection shop, steal a go-kart, fuck with this cop, and then go back to the farmhouse before any of them have made it back.
Maybe they're really slow eaters.
I don't know, man, but he rolls into this fucking house and we get like the sequence where he's raiding the cabinets and he sees all this fucking cereal and he comes across the box of fucking...
I remember before he started ripping off the shelves, I was like, I think I saw a box of Lucky Charms. I think I saw a box of Lucky Charms.
Lonky Charms.
Lonky Charms. All I can think about is that fucking Lonk meme now.
Where his face turns around.
A little me-verse Lonk.
That's, God damn it. What I thought was hilarious is like there's Frosted Flakes, there's Rice Krispies, like there's literally every brand imaginable. But when they get to the Lucky Charms, it's not called Lucky Charms.
I forget what it is actually called. It wasn't Lucky Bits or something like that, was it?
It was something like that, but it just cracks me up because it's very obviously not Lucky Charms or whatever, and he just grabs a handful. He's like, oh, no.
He tries some.
He's like, fucking spits it out everywhere. He even spit the marshmallows out, but he probably tasted more of the cardboardy bits or whatever.
Cardboardy bits. We have this disagreement. You prefer the marshmallows, and I prefer the bits.
Yeah, I think they were called like Lucky Clovers or some shit.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, And then he finds that little hand mirror and spooks the shit out of himself with it.
Oh, yeah. He has like this like slowly changing appearance throughout parts of the movie, too, which I thought was really fun.
Yeah, and most people that watch this have not really picked up on that, which I'm very surprised at. So the idea is that the longer he's gone without this shit, the more like distressed his look becomes. Like his nose is kind of normal looking and his chin is a little more rounded, but as the movie progresses, his nose gets more pointy, more hooked, and his chin becomes more hooked, and he gets a little more haggard looking. He starts getting like, I don't want to say like green mold, but like slimy, you know, kind of.
He looks gross. It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
It's a grody little motherfucker.
Yeah. But I laugh when he picks the little hand mirror because he's like, oh, and he starts fucking like fixing his eyebrows and shit. And then he shines every goddamn shoe in the house. Mm-hmm. So when they all come home, all their shoes are lined up and nice and pretty looking on the table, but the rest of the house looks like a bear just came in and ass fucked the entire kitchen.
Absolutely ransacked.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure around this time is when he actually just says to hell with it and reveals himself to everybody at some point, because they hear all these noises outside and there's a shotgun that comes into play. And this is where Nathan goes outside with the shotgun. This is the bear trap. A man just falls right into this trap, literally.
Gun in hand and everything.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of gets his shit fucked up, you know?
What kills me is, like, yes, it was nighttime, but it was not badly lit out there. He had pretty good vision, all things considered, and he really just didn't see it.
He shit the bed completely on this. What a bumbling idiot. But they all run outside to check on him, and then the leprechaun's just there, biting his leg.
Like a rabid animal.
Yeah, and they're all like, what the fuck is it? And they're just like punching him and hitting him with like sticks.
I'm pretty sure he's literally being like,
like he goes literally from, you can't kill me. Because he fucking straight up, he's like, you can't hurt me. They're just beating the shit. He almost sounds like fucking Terrence and Phillip from South Park. Hey, guy, you can't hurt me.
That's pretty good.
He's fucking getting his ass beat and shit. But then they eventually shoot him. Like, they shoot him point blank into this bush. And you were commenting about the green blood.
Oh, yeah, it was like acid green. I think is that the only scene that they show the blood, too?
On the leprechaun?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, with the exception at the end, obviously, but like I believe also the reasoning behind that is that might have been something that was shot before they were like, oh, we need more gore. They probably did that to keep the PG-13 rating because that's something they do to stop the censor board from fucking with them, is to change the color of the blood or any fluid.
Because it's less offensive if it's not red.
Yeah. And so this is all happening, and they tell Ozzy, hey, man, go call the cops.
Oh.
That motherfucker. Dude, okay, so my mom used to quote this all the time, and it makes me laugh because I think about her every fucking time this scene pops up. In the most monotone, nonchalant voice ever, Ozzy is on the phone with the sheriff. Help! It's happening! It's happening! The attack is on! The O'Grady farm! Like, just real, like,
my God.
So like my mom always would be like, help, the attack is on. The attack is on. Every fucking time, dude. And I have to admit, it is pretty goddamn hilarious. The way he, just the delivery was so goddamn like, bro, ain't nobody about to believe you. And then obviously he's going to tell like the truth. He fucking says, oh, there's a leprechaun here. So naturally the police officers are just like, oh, what was it this week? He's like, a leprechaun. Hey, didn't he call about UFOs last week and the tinfoil hat shit? And they're just like, yeah.
It's just Ozzy being Ozzy.
He's a good kid. Yeah, the cops are like, oh, he's a good kid.
I love when he runs back and tells them that he called the cops. And after a while, they're wondering where the cops have been. And she was like, wait, did you tell them it was a leprechaun attacking us? And he goes, well, yeah.
What a dumbass, dude. God.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Ozzy at that point has shot them all in the foot. I don't know if this was necessary. And it might just be me being a little nitpicky about this. So they figure out, okay, we got to escape. Let's give him his fucking gold because Ozzy is like, hey, no, we know what it is. Like, hey, we have his gold. That's what he wants, blah, blah, blah. So they fucking give him the gold.
Mm-hmm. And he counts every single piece. I think there's 100 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Where's me last gold piece?
He's like, you motherfuckers, you tricked me. And he's pissed. So
they literally didn't know that he swallowed the coin. It wasn't their fault, actually.
I know.
Those poor kids.
Yeah, so he comes back and he fucks with them even more until Ozzy's like, so O'Grady is at a nursing home, the guy that used to own this farm, which we're just like, what? I thought he died.
Yeah, they literally they give you every reason to believe that this man died from his stronk at the beginning of the movie. But turns out he's just been chilling in a nursing home after stroking out for a decade.
He's just been waiting for his plot point to revive itself, and they get in the fucking hospital. They send Tori, which I think is funny. Like, they just send her. Like she gets into her Jeep, and at this point, I believe this is where the leprechaun has chased her down on roller skates.
He's just ramming the fucking car.
The leprechaun has some fucking, like, that little shed, that barn shed out there is like that's like his workshop. It's gotta be, because he goes in there and he steals a tricycle. He rolls in that motherfucker and builds this like pitchfork go-kart that he wrecks the paint truck with. But he comes out on roller skates and chases this fucking bitch all the way to the hospital, which he does this real Looney Tunes bullshit where he crashes through a fence that leaves a perfectly outlined cutout.
It was very amusing. I liked that scene.
Yeah, and then the cool part about that is that Warwick Davis used to actually be a power skater, so he was actually on the rollerblades or the roller skates. Yeah, he did. But there's a spot you can actually catch where he's rolling towards the fence and he has to start running because the rocks have built up so much that his skates just stop rolling. So he has to walk the rest of the way into the fence for the pickup shot to happen. And they just left it in there.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. But anyway, this, and I'm just going to say it, fuck it. This dumbass subplot where she's got to drive all the way to this hospital to find O'Grady. How do we kill him?
Pointless.
How do we kill him? And it's the leprechaun dressed.
Who just knew where he was, by the way. Yeah, just straight up.
Yeah, he's just been waiting. Knew where he was at, rolled in there, waited for Tori to get there, and then chases her in a wheelchair.
And there's like, no staff. There's nobody else in this nursing home whatsoever.
That's what was hilarious is like O'Grady's just there by himself. He's the opening. He's the closing shift. He's been looking after everything. He's probably been doing fucking like chores because he's bored as fuck. Same hospital they used for Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, by the way. Same exact one.
Which is really cool. We love that one.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
It's good. It's underrated.
Yeah. So she makes it all the way to the elevator where she's run away from Lubden in the fucking wheelchair, and you just hear like he fucking crashes into the elevator door, and then O'Grady just plummets halfway through the roof of the elevator, and it's like, oh, plot device. It is too late for me. You gotta kill it. And like, oh, here we go. This is what we've been waiting on. You gotta kill it with a 4-leaf clover. You gotta put it on his body, and then you can kill it. And I'm like, okay, bud.
Touch him with a plant.
I have a feeling that Ozzy already knew how to do this. No, I'm serious. As much shit as he knows about, he had to fucking know how to kill this thing.
It's in his skill set, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like he would have had that information.
Ozzy would be a great D&D character. What would he be?
Ozzy reminds me of a character that I played in one of my Pathfinder campaigns who was actually a half-orc, and his class was a warrior, but he truly believed that he was a paladin. So he would, like, lay his gigantic fucking ham fist just on someone's head and be like, "Be healed!" And he believed that he healed somebody by doing that.
Oh my God.
He's just, he means well. He's actually, like, got a good amount of common sense and is very observant, but he dumb and sweet.
So that's Ozzy.
That's Ozzy.
Cool. So she fucking bails out and goes back to the fucking barn, and she's like, oh, we gotta get a fucking clover. Because O'Grady's like, it's in the clover patch by the well. And the entire movie, this has never happened. But all of a sudden, she drives back, and there's just this conveniently very fucking bright green patch.
Extremely bright.
At night, extremely bright green, small-ass patch of clovers.
So bright it reflects onto her skin and also changes her colors.
Yeah. She doesn't believe it. She's like, we're out here looking for a fucking 4-leaf clover in this fucking goddamn patch. But she's not saying it like that, but she's pissed off enough. And Ozzy...
ripping handfuls of grass.
Yeah, dude. And Ozzy's just like, you gotta believe. And at this point, she's still, after seeing all this shit, she just does not believe. She's like, I don't fucking believe in this shit. We're out here looking for clovers. We're killing this thing. And he's just like, you gotta believe. And she's like, fine, I believe. And then immediately, the fist of clovers that she picked up is glowing brighter. And you can see the flashlight that's pointed directly at her hand off camera.
I actually think that was probably the laziest scene in the whole movie.
So they get back in the house. Ozzy finally tells the leprechaun, he's like, no, I'm the one you want. I ate your coin because he's about to fuck Alex up big time. Like, he's about to shove his head in a bear trap. So Ozzy's like, I guess it's time for me to grow up and take one for the team.
It's in me guts.
Dude, the leprechaun went full bitch better have my money on him. I mean, I'm talking, he took a buckle off of his shoe and just starts, like, cutting his face up hard. Like, real hard.
Where's my fucking money?
Give me your fucking money!
Dun dun.
Yeah. If this movie would have come out in 2020, that would have been the thing. That would have 100% been the line in the movie.
Been the clip, absolutely.
Yeah. Rather convenient, they all just kind of waited for Ozzy to get cut the fuck up before they come out to help his ass or whatever, because Nathan's useless right now because he ain't got but one leg.
He's just hobbling around like a fucking flamingo.
He's hobgobbling around. He's fucking gobbling around. So he is like...
getting sliced and diced.
Yeah, so Alex gets the clover because they're like, oh yeah, here. And he's got a slingshot and... probably the best line in the whole movie here.
Oh, it's so good.
Just looks at him and he's, hey, what? Fuck you, Lucky Charms, and just shoots this thing right into his throat.
Slingshots it into the back of his fucking throat.
Yeah, he puts a piece of gum on this clover and like wads it up and shoots it down the leprechaun's throat. And in this scene, it didn't get done by the same effects team. There was a combination of like what it looked like the Chiodo brothers effects, but also the puppeteering work that was done to make the leprechaun melt looked like when the gremlins were melting in the first and second one.
Absolutely. And it was very well done. Like, I liked the lighting in that. I liked the effect. It made him infinitely creepier pretty much instantly.
Yeah. Which I loved because it was like, okay, there's some scary, there's a lot of comedy, but where's like the truly horrific kind of stuff? And they kind of waited until the very end to reveal it. And I was like, oh my God, he looks fucking terrifying. And this is great.
That was actually, that was the comment that I made when we got close to the end too. I liked how with the whole like having his gold equates to having his powers thing, he got, 99 pieces of his gold back. And from there on, you get the goriest scenes in the movies, the best kills or whatever. He got scarier. He actually got decently scarier before the end of the movie. And I really appreciated that. It was well done.
That fucker looked at Ozzy and be like, I got 99 pieces and that bitch ate one.
It's going to come out shinier.
Yeah, probably. Colon cleanse and all. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he falls into the well They're like, hey, pour all this gasoline into this fucking well and throw a match and blow his ass. And they fucking did it, right? I remember when he fell in, you straight up were just like, well, that well's useless now.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, I see what you did there. Ba-doom.
I love how you had that was like the finish or whatever, and then a second later you see this skeletal, disgusting, melty glob trying to climb back out of the well, and you're just like, oh, holy shit. And then the massive explosion. Like, I thought that was just a really good sequence of events. The coming back and coming back and coming back. Like, we see that movies like, Chucky and stuff like that, where he just never stops. Mm. So there's definitely a certain type of terror involved with that kind of feeling. But they did a great job with it. I was real happy with the ending. The leprechaun mutters some like curse as he's, fading away again.
Basically that he's going to vow that his spirit is not going to rest until he recovers all his gold, because the one coin is still missing. And we forgot to mention that Tori calls the cops, like she calls them herself, and she's freaking the fuck out. And that's when they finally take it seriously enough to send for help and everything. When she was being chased by the leprechaun at one point, that's where the whole scene happened with the eyeball, which I thought was a really cool, kind of grotesque looking scene where the dead cop's been in the car the whole time and she pokes his eye out with the baton. So he just reaches and grabs and just pulls that cop's eyeball out and fucking uses it as his own and shit. But what I laughed at here was like, oh, the cops finally fucking show up, like probably hours later, actually.
Yep.
They were just taking their sweet fucking time getting there.
They probably didn't even like come of their own accord. Those kids probably crawled their way back to the police car and used the radio to phone for help, and they still didn't get there till dawn. Slow ass motherfuckers, country ass bumpkin bitches.
Country ass bumpkin bitches. Fucking North Dakota, man. But yeah, that's pretty much Leprechaun. It made $8.5 million at the box office against a budget of $900,000, and because of its rental success on home video, spawned an entire franchise. Only 2 of these movies made it to theaters. It was this one and Leprechaun 2. Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun 4 in Space, Leprechaun in the Hood, Leprechaun Back to the Hood, Leprechaun Origins, and Leprechaun Returns were all released straight to video.
And let me tell you, I am so fucking excited to dive into the rest of these movies, especially the one including Ice-T. I'm very excited for that. I can't wait. And perhaps we'll cover those in the future too. Who knows?
Oh, I would love to, because as the children of the world say these days, Leprechaun in the Hood and Leprechaun Back to the Hood are indeed certified hood classics.
I love that. I can't wait.
Yeah, they're fucking funny. So on release, the critical reception was obviously fucking negative. Mm-hmm. There was a quote by somebody from the Austin Chronicle that said it was cliched, uninteresting, and, quote, an utter waste of perfectly good Kodak film stock.
That's rude.
Yeah.
That guy's a dickhead.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I see this as like a very certified cult classic and very much so bad it's good. Like, it has the qualities of being a so bad it's good movie.
I've seen a lot of so bad it's good movies. You've seen a lot more. To me, this is a step above those. I don't know what I would call that step, but it's so far surpassed everything that I expected of it.
Well, it's got budget and it had good effects, and I think that's what made it set apart from the others, is that the makeup effects for the Leprechaun look fucking tremendous.
Which is crazy because this is considered a low budget film. So it's nuts to me that the quality that they produced with, quote, a low budget came out that. Like, that's great. Great job.
And I will leave it with this. Disagreeing with his colleagues in 1993, Luke Y. Thompson of the New Times says, the perfect high-concept comedic slasher, and it is still Jennifer Aniston's best film to date.
I hope that stings her ass a little bit. That someone thinks that. It's fantastic. So, Richie, I have for you a positive, a neutral, and a negative review of Leprechaun 1993. Which are we starting with this time?
You choose your own adventure here.
All right. So I'm going to start with the positive review. From lost_in_the_telling. This movie is brilliant. Leprechaun was a childhood favorite for me for many of the reasons mentioned previously. When I saw it for the first time when I was about 7, and the "fuck you Lucky Charms" line was the most badass thing I'd ever heard. It didn't hurt that I was about the same age as the actor. Man, I'll have to give it another shot one of these days. Always worth a rewatch. Our neutral review with 5 out of 10 is titled "Not as Bad as Some Make It Out to Be." And it says, I used to call Leprechaun a guilty pleasure of mine. Sure, I didn't mention it to many people for the fear of being pointed and laughed at while I hear people yelling, he's the guy that liked Leprechaun. So I kept it a secret. Until now. Why, you ask? I don't care if you ask. I'm going to tell you anyway. Simply put, you can all still ridicule me, but I won't be able to hear you laugh or see you pointing at me. Despite the fact I declare Leprechaun a guilty pleasure, the more I watch it, the more I hate it. Yes, I still find redeemable qualities, though nowadays that's becoming quite a task, but the smell of crap is starting to fill the room anytime I put Leprechaun on.
Smell of crap!
Straight up.
God.
It started out so positive and just went downhill really quick.
It's like he started contradicting himself halfway through. It's like, it's not as bad as people make it out to be, but the crap is filling my room.
Dude, are you telling me it took 30 years for the shame to settle in? Like, and now you're angry and don't like the movie?
Can't wait to hear the bad one.
This is our 1-star review. This movie is inexplicable and one of the most poorly shot, unfunniest, unscariest, quote, horror comedies ever, end quote, an insane and completely baffling group of characters, in parentheses, what is Ozzy? A child? Mentally disabled? Just weird? Question mark? Are terrorized, I guessed, by the embarrassingly derivative child of Freddy Krueger and Chucky. Sadly, that ripoff monster with his decent makeup design and cheeky menace may be the best part of this incomprehensible and frankly too boring to be so bad it's good franchise starter. Quote, ... 8 films? 6 question marks.
Buddy, clearly something was working well enough for this to have 8 fucking movies. I mean, it made money. That's the thing.
Even though they were straight to video.
That is a thing. The straight to video market can actually turn a franchise if the rental and home video purchasing is big.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you have a returning actor playing the title character and almost every one of them. Come on. Now, that being said, I've seen these movies countless times. When the franchise really died off was when WWE was like, hey man, we got a guy that's a little person who kind of plays a leprechaun, kind of plays an Irish person. His name is Hornswoggle.
We can make some money off of this.
Oh, it was fucking abysmal.
That's disappointing.
In fact, the Leprechaun Returns, which is the most recent one that was just a straight up sequel to the first movie, was better than that one by and large. However, nothing beats Warwick Davis's performance in literally any of these movies. Promise you.
Which is one of the biggest reasons I'm so excited to watch the next, 5 of them.
Right. Once again, out there, if you have watched this movie or if you've watched any of the other Leprechaun films, and I know for a fact most of you motherfuckers out there have seen both of the Leprechaun Hood movies, so which is your favorite? And what do you like most about this one? Leave a comment below on any of our social media platforms that you see this episode on. For past, present, and future episodes of Cult Macabre, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. You can leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave us a rating and leave comments on individual episodes on Spotify. And if you're listening to this episode on YouTube, please consider subscribing to our channel, clicking the bell for notifications for future episodes, or maybe leaving a like on the video or a comment down below. Any engagement helps. And if you'd like to follow us on any of our social media platforms, all of this information can be found in our Linktree link in the show notes below.
So if you'd like to join us for more of pop culture's dark side, sign the Black Book and join the cult. I'm Lee.
And I'm Richie.
See you next time.